Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Everybody loves a hero. People line up for them, cheer them, scream their names.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Joey Galvez here at the MCDC podcast, where we talk about the big two. This week, we got some really cool books, something a little bit different than usual. We've got Action Comics 1002, and then we got a really good one that I'm so excited for, Batman Kings of Fear. That one, I read that one, and that was so good, just saying. And then we got Detective Comics 987, and then we got another really cool one, Death of Superman Part 1, and it says Chapter 4. So, and these two, that one, we got the Superman one, and then we've got the Batman Kings of Fear. Those ones are have a really old school vibe and an old school feel to it. I really like that, and it was really awesome and intriguing to me. I'm definitely looking forward to those two books. On the Marvel side, we're going to be talking about Mr. and Mrs. X number 2, Punisher number 1, Venom number 5, and West Coast Avengers number 1. So this week, obviously, you can tell that I am very excited about the DC books. So let's dive into these reviews and check them out. Hey, how's it going, everybody? We're gonna crack open Action Comics 1002. In this issue, we get some really cool answers here. We get a handful of them, actually, and we actually see who that mysterious woman was back when. You remember when she was writing down those ideas for Lois Lane's book? We didn't quite know if it was Lois Lane. Maybe it was due because the art didn't really look too much like how we've seen Lois Lane look in the past. But we'll find out who that actually is this time around, and it's actually pretty fun and exciting. And I want to know what's going to happen in 1003. I'm so excited to see where this one goes. And I actually, this time around, I wasn't so negative about the dialogue this time around. I actually enjoyed this book quite thoroughly. And I think I'm going to start here on this show, be a little bit more positive and talk about that kind of stuff and celebrate the characters a little bit more. I will still give ratings, and I will still explain to you guys if whether or not it was intriguing to me, or if it was one of those books where it was a little, flat for me. But I'm still going to try and be as positive as I can, because, I've been hanging out with my buddy Bill, and he's kind of rubbing off on me, and his philosophy is, he wants to be positive and celebrate the characters, and he likes to, he doesn't like to be influenced by other people's opinions, and he wants to form his own opinion. If he likes it, he likes it, and it does not matter what other people think about that. And I think I'm gonna adopt that philosophy for myself. So I'm gonna try and be more positive with these books from here on out, even if it's one of those ones that's very flat to me. But here we go. We got Brian Michael Bendis on this one. We got Patrick Gleason art. Awesome, right? And colors from Alejandro Sanchez and Josh Reed on the letters. This one, like I said, it was a really fun book. We even got some really cool sticky note. There's a page, the very beginning page, where we see all the artists and all the creators on this book. We see a computer with sticky notes on there, and some of these sticky notes are kind of cool. There's one that says, is KGB tied to election hacking? Kind of funny. And there's a couple other ones. There's a Batmite conspiracy follow-up. Talk to Perry, read Trish Q's Maggie Sawyer story, and things like that. Pretty cool. It says, what is the Superman theory? Suicide Slum Shelter. And it's really cool. If you guys want to open this book up, and there's even one that says Jim Lee called. So if you guys want to open this up, and then it looks like they have some fun with these sticky notes too. So open up this book, read some of them in here are little tidbits that you even might like to hear as well. But we first open up the book and we see a man up, and we get this little cheesy thing where people are, look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's, you know, it's Superman kind of a thing here. But there's somebody who's up in the sky, and it looks like they could either be flying, but people very, very much quickly change their outlook on this as they see this person falling from the sky. And he's wearing the same thing that one yogurt guy was wearing, and when we found out, you know, those people who were starting the fires, right? He was starting the fire. Remember, he got engulfed by Red Cloud and this stuff. So he gets dropped from some buildings, but then we go to the next page, and Perry White is holding a newspaper here, and it says Superman drops gangster to his death. So we get this idea that everybody believes that Superman dropped this gangster to his death, and he dropped yogurt. But, you know, Perry White is like, yeah, this is Superman we're talking about. Superman doesn't do this stuff. This is not Gotham. This is not Batman. Superman doesn't do this. And it's Miss Good who is, you know, pitching this story to him. She even got it printed, I guess. And so he's like, yeah, we're not running the story. I've got Superman in, you know, in another out of town, maybe even out of state, you know, fighting with the Justice League somewhere. And I've even got artwork here in the form of pictures showing that's where he is. He, at the same time that everybody is saying that he dropped this gangster from the sky. So and so she's like, you know, I report the news. This is what it is. And he's like, yeah, go out, find it. Like, you know, you're a reporter. So Perry White gives this story, you know, to Clark Kent, and Clark's like, no, this is Miss Good's story. I'm not going to do this. He's like, I need a second point of view. I need a second perspective. You go out and search, figure this out. And he's like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. He's like, well, I've done it millions of times with you, and Lois Lane never complained. So you get this idea that Lois Lane has done this in the past with Superman. So it's kind of funny there. And again, we flip the page again, and we see another gangster, and he's in a limo, and he's on the phone asking some guy named Whisper. He says, Whisper, this is Moxie. I'm waiting for the full confirmation. And, you know, is he here? And so you get this idea that he is asking this guy, and it looks like this guy is his computer tech, and he's searching for Superman. And he's like, yeah, he's not here. He's gone. He's not in the city. He's like, awesome. And then you get, I don't know if this is one of the guy's thugs that's, you know, outside the car, kind of, you know, helping, you know, keeping him safe. So you get this, one of the other thugs that's outside of the car gets smashed into his window. And then the next page, we see a really cool character here, and I love the way he's drawn here in the next few pages. So this guy's car gets flipped upside down, and he gets all knocked around, and he gets hurt, and he starts climbing out. And the next page here, we see this cool character. We see Guardian here, and he's pretty upset. He gets really mad at this guy. He's like, you know, you dropped this guy off of rooftops in front of kids, in front of families and things like that. So he's pretty upset, and he's you know, he's this guy's already roughed up. And then you hear a voice off panel, and he's looking around, and Guardian looks up, and it's Red Cloud there. Red Cloud is going to do the same thing that they did to, you know, Yogurt. So we see Maggie Sawyer here, and she's in the hospital, and she comes up to a doctor, and the doctor says, oh, that was pretty fast. And she was like, yeah, we were in the cafeteria. And you see Guardian there laid out on a bed on a gurney, and he is pretty messed up. Like, he is so messed up. He's got tubes down his nose, and he can't even speak, and you almost get the feeling that he might not even make it. And I guess Moxie is dead in the basement, and they got him on a slab. So you get this idea that, you know, that Red Cloud did this, and I'm not quite sure if Red Cloud did the killing to Moxie or what happened, because he was alive when Red Cloud got there and was about to subdue the Guardian. So Guardian's mumbling and stuff, and he says, Red Cloud, and they figured I'm sure they don't know what that means, but that's what he says here. Now we are following Clark Kent, and he is in some crazy like biker bar. There's some pretty rough looking people here. He's I guess he gets on the wrong person's nerves there, and it looks like somebody wants to start a fight with him. He said the wrong thing, and he's like, I'm sorry. I'm honestly sorry. I know I've lost somebody too. So this guy that's about to fight him, and then I completely didn't see this coming. This big, huge, creepy looking biker dude. He looks like he would just, if you look at him wrong, he would take you out and just beat you down, and he looks like he could even give Clark Kent a run for his money, kind of a thing. So, but he's mourning Yogurt's death, and I guess this is part of Yogurt's crew, and so they're all kind of, what's going on? How do you know Yogurt? This and that, and they're talking, and he's all, oh man, he died. That's not fair. And this guy grabs Clark Kent and cries into his shoulder and hugs him, and all these people start hugging on each other and crying, and they're like, it's not fair. Yeah, he was a good guy, and this and that. So you get this kind of feeling that, that these guys are super tough looking, and looks like if you look at them in the wrong way, they'd beat you up. But they're crying on Clark Kent's shoulder here, so I thought that was kind of funny. And so I guess they're all drunk and they're all emotional, and they're mourning this guy. And then they start giving up the goods. They start giving up the everything. They start singing like a songbird to Clark Kent here, and letting him know that Yogurt was the one who was behind the fires, and he was setting them all off because he says if Superman is preoccupied with all these fires and saving these people, he doesn't really know what we're doing over here. So they kind of said that they give them this idea that it's a distraction so that Superman can't really see what's going on while they're doing something else, shiesty on the other side. And you see that Clark Kent is telling Perry White this story, and he's in the middle of the story, and he's like, excuse me, I gotta go. And the next part, you see Superman, and I'm not quite sure if Superman's upset or if he's mad or if he is just saving the planet from some meteors or some space debris, but he flies all the way out past the moon, it looks like, and he starts punching at some meteors and some space debris, and he just starts punching through it. It almost looks like he's pretty upset here, but I thought Superman didn't get mad, but this was I really didn't understand this part of it. But I do want to say it was some pretty cool panels. There's a panel there where the sun's behind him and you see Superman there. It's actually kind of cool. I like that page there. We got some really cool pages here. So I enjoy that, even though I didn't understand what happened or if he was really mad or what. But I did like it. Now he's back in front of his computer, and he's looking up pictures of him and his family. You got John there, you got Lois there, and then you hear some really loud, obnoxious voice. Clark Kent, do you ever age? And it's Kent Grant. And she gives him a great big smooch on the cheek, and she's talking to him. Oh, I've read the book. I read her book, and it looks so great. He's like, whose book? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't know. It's Lois's book. It's really good. And she's like, oh, well, I don't know what's going on with you two. I'm so sorry. For what it's worth, she kind of, gives him the pleasantries and stuff. And then she turns around and goes to Perry White, and she starts, hey, how's it going? You miss me? He's like, miss isn't even the word. And then the last panel on this page, you see Superman there, Superman Clark Kent, looking at the computer and just wondering what's going on. At this point, I was like, what the heck? What's going on? I thought Lois Lane, dipped out with John to go, help him, I don't know. I that was one of those moments where I was like, what's happening? Where is she back? Did she just dip out on Clark Kent, Superman? What's going on here? So now we see Miss Good, and she is back in that club with this mysterious guy, and she's talking to him, and she ends up asking him that for some kryptonite. She doesn't say it out loud. She writes it down on the paper because everybody in Metropolis is very scared to say certain words like stick 'em up or give me all your money and things like that, or kryptonite, because these are things that he listens for, I guess. So they're very, very aware that he is always listening. She asked for kryptonite, and it looks like they might be getting it to her. So now we are here in this very last page, and we see a woman. It almost looks like she's coming out of a theater or something. She's got a bag of snacks, and she's got some really shorty shorts on, a gaudy looking pink jacket, and some blonde hair. And she just looks out of place to me. And so she's walking down the street, and you see Superman hovering there, and he says, "Lois," and she puts her head down. She grabs off her wig, and she looks up at him, and she says, "Hi, honey," and it says, "Next kryptonite, baby." So that's a cliffhanger for you. Lois Lane is back, but John is nowhere to be seen. He's nowhere in sight. And she looked, when he says Lois, she looked like she was scared, like one of my kids was doing something wrong and they just got caught red-handed, and it was that look of, oh crap, mom and dad are gonna be real mad at me, kind of a face. So so this is what we see here. What happened? She finished her book. She had enough time to finish a book. She had enough time to go out and have her adventure to write a book about. She has something to write about, and it's done. It takes quite some time to write a book and to get it edited and all that stuff, to get it almost in the final stages. So if Superman is this big major reporter, doesn't he have editor friends, and he's in that world? Obviously he would have heard of this big book being published. Why didn't he know? Is these fires that have been keeping him distracted? Is all this craziness that's been happening in his story keeping him distracted? So I'm wondering about this, and why is Lois Lane here but John isn't? Why was she keeping it from Superman? Why was she keeping it from her husband? I'm very interested in this one. I loved the art in this book. It was really cool. The colors are always amazing. But this storyline was so cool. It kept me on the edge of my seat, and it kept me, in it, and the pacing was actually pretty good. I liked it a lot. I'm excited for 1003. So if I was going to give this a rating, I think I would give it an 8. Because there were some areas here and there that were kind of a little funny to me, but some of the dialogue was just a little bit, not too much, not too horrible, not as much to where it kind of made me hang up on the words a little bit. But there was just some areas that was just like, oh, okay, well what's this, like that one and then that one area where he went out into space, there wasn't really any dialogue there, but I really didn't understand that. Was he mad? Was he just saving the world because he saw that there was something imminent that he needed to take care of? I didn't really get exactly what was going on there. It didn't really transfer to me completely. Hopefully it did to you guys, and you guys understood it more. If you guys did, please let me know. But all in all, this book was actually pretty good. I liked it all together. So that's gonna be my review for Action Comics 1002. Stay tuned. I'm gonna talk another Superman book. There's a really cool book out, Death of Superman Part 1, and it said Chapter 4. I want to read that one, check that one out, and talk to you guys about it. Hopefully we can enjoy that one just as much as I enjoyed this one. I want to know what's going on with this next book coming up. Is it... we've already seen a Death of Superman. What are we going to see in this one? I really hope that this one is going to be really cool. Is it just a reissue, or is it... are they just putting out something that they've already put out? We'll find out, right? So stay tuned for that one next.
Thinking, why, yeah, Superman's dead.
Alrighty, you guys ready for the Death of Superman Part 1, Chapter 4? This one is actually a really cool one. I was pretty excited when I heard about this one because this is kind of a prequel to the animated movie that came out in July. It was that movie was actually a pretty fun one too. I liked it. I watched it. It was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. And this comic book was very awesome as well. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the colors, the dialogue, and the story. That was all pretty cool. The pacing was actually really good, and it was exactly what I wanted. Something fresh, something new, and it was awesome. All around awesome to me. So we and this is and they're going to be talking about in this, because I get the idea that they're going to be doing some more. I think it's a 12-part series. They're going to be talking about, things that happened just before the movie, and then they're going to be talking about things that happened afterwards. And so it's going to be really cool. I liked it. And so we got on this one, we got from the writer Louise Simonson and artist Kat Staggs, colorist Wendy Broom, and then letterer Carlos and Manuel. They all did a really good job on this one. The colors were really good, and the writing was awesome. I liked it a whole lot. This issue we follow Superman, and you get the idea that he's having kind of a rough day. He says you ever have one of those days where you just want to hit someone? He's all, mostly I can't because I'm too powerful, and people, even the most super villains, are just too fragile. He says, but not, and he says, but the Zarnians, they're a whole different kind of, they're nearly invulnerable. He says, invulnerable bags of attitude. So he's going after Lobo, and Lobo is tracking this kid who is standing on some overturned boats, and he's pointing his gun at him, and Superman stops him, and he's like, even Lobo, he's like, even Lobo, I thought even Lobo would be, against, pointing his gun at a child, but here he is, he's pointing a gun at a child. So Superman comes in, he grabs him, kicks him off of his bike, and he says, what do you think you're doing? Lobo then says, I'm a bounty hunter. What do you think I'm doing, And he says, that child is not an interstellar criminal. What the heck what are you doing? He says who? He says, then Superman says, leave the Earth. This is, you got leave the Earth. This is insane. You're trying to go after a kid here. And he says, and that kid's not a kid at all. He's a shapeshifter. And what do you think sunk the boats? And I love the artwork. I love the way, Superman's suit here. It's pretty cool. This is one of my favorite suits. But he says, you're telling me that this child, he says, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You're saying that this child is not even a kid. He said, you're saying that he's some kind of creature large enough to overturn these huge boats. He says, yeah, you could have taken my word for it. And you see that Lobo and Superman are going back and forth, and they're fighting each other. And to me, it almost looks like they're kind of equal, and so Lobo grabs Superman and he throws him down. He says, just remember, I told you, you asked for this. And you see that the kid is in sight, and then the kid is no longer a kid. He changes, and he shapeshifts into this weird creature, and almost looks like a sea anemone to me, almost, but with crazy looking teeth. Superman gets gobbled up by this thing, gets swallowed, and Superman says, the acid and the guts inside this thing, it's crazy, and the skin is so thick that he tried to blast through it, he tried to punch through it, he couldn't get through. He says, but he found a soft spot, and he said he's just gonna go out through the way that he came in. So he exits right through the mouth of this thing, and so Lobo then says, do you believe me now? And Superman tells him, I'm sorry, I was a little bit hasty, but what's going on? What's up with this thing? He says this thing is responsible for pollution and destruction of oceans on 30 worlds. And he says it eats up the local life forms and poops out poison. He's like, that's nasty. How do you stop it? He's like, can you use your freeze breath? So Superman uses his freeze breath. Lobo gets his gun and shoots it at it, and I guess his gun shrinks this thing. So he shrinks it down enough to put it in a jar that he's got with him, and so he puts it in a jar, and Superman tells both of you guys get out of here, leave Earth and get out of here, and he's so he says that in 15 minutes he's got so much on his plate, because you get this feeling that because he's got so much on his plate and so much going on, he's got all kinds of stuff on his itinerary that he's frustrated. He says, I need a fast shower. This monster slime stinks. He says then he's gonna go to the JLA combat practice, and then a meeting. He says then back to the planet and lunch, and with Lois, and the big question that's been bugging me all day. Should I tell her who I am? So he's contemplating it with this as well. Should he tell Lois Lane that he is Superman? And all the while that we're doing this, he's flying above the ocean, and we got the perspective from underneath the ocean looking up at him, and there's something there, and it looks like almost like a rock, and it's starting to crack open, and then it's crumbling, and a hand comes out. We know who that is, right? We know who's coming out of there. Now he's at the Hall of Justice, and he is, he's saying, me worrying about all this stuff, it's gonna distract me from sparring Wonder Woman. If I even lose my concentration team for a minute, I'm gonna get slaughtered. And he says she's tougher than Mattel, the Parasite Toy Master, and Lobo combined. And then that's where we leave off. That's it. That's the story of this one. I liked it. It was really quick, really fast paced. I liked how we had the double pages there. It was really cool, and the pacing was awesome. The story was great, and we got these many different layers of a story here. So it worked for me a whole lot. I liked it a lot. If I was gonna give this a rating, I think I would give it an 8.5, because I liked it. I enjoyed it a whole lot. So that's gonna be my review for Death of Superman #1 part 1 chapter 4. Okay, stay tuned for our Batman books here. I did 2 Superman books. I'm gonna do 2 Batman books. We're gonna do Detective Comics 987, and then possibly my DC pick of the week is Batman Kings of Fear. That one's awesome. This one's I was so excited for this one when I read it, and when I saw it, it was so cool. It's stick around. That one's a treat. So we'll get into those ones here in a second. Alright guys, are you ready for Detective Comics 987? This one, if you guys wanted something wrapped up in a nice and neat bow, I'm not quite sure if this one did it for you, but I am going to say I did like it a whole lot. I liked this whole arc. I like this new character, this Karma character, and I really want to know where his tech came from and what it does. We get a little bit of answers on where he got it from, or where it could have came from, and what his kind of powers are, I guess. we were asking what all those answers were. We wanted those answers, and I guess we get them here in this issue. But we got it all in the last issue. I wish we kind of got a little bit tidbit each issue, and that probably would have been a little bit better for me, at least, and it would have said, okay, I would have probably said, ooh, wow, I like this a whole lot. This is really keeping me intrigued, and this has got me in. I like this guy. I like this character, But I'm not quite sure if it did that one, because it felt like we weren't given too many answers throughout this arc, and then everything you got answers bombarded at you in this issue. Come like all the answers you wanted, you were asking for, you got them all in this issue. And then there was a couple of discrepancies, at least for me, that I was like, okay, I don't know if that quite works out. And I'll get into that a little bit more later, because it kind of didn't sit with me very much. It didn't sit right with me, and I'll get into that. But we do see some really cool colors, really cool artwork here. We've got Brian Hill as the writer. We've got Miguel Mondancha as the penciler, and we got Diana Egea on inks, and Adriano Lucas on colors, and Sal Cipriano on the letters. This team, they do pretty good. I like the inks, I like the colors, and I liked Brian Hill's writing on this one. This one was actually pretty cool. A lot of people don't like his writing. Some people out there don't really care for it too much, but I liked it. This issue it worked for me. I did get some answers. I got the answers that I wanted. I got the answers that I needed, and then I actually have some more answers that I've got. And there was actually kind of a pretty cool a cliffhanger at the end, and that one, I was like, ooh, I want to hear this story. I want to hear this next little arc, and hopefully we're gonna get this cool arc next time. So this one, I do want to say that this one is probably the strongest one of the bunch, probably most likely because we got all those answers, at least to me. So we open up the book here, and we see a couple of guards. One of them, there's like a little shift change at the Wayne Enterprises. And we got one guy, he's coming in, one guy's leaving, and he's like, hey, can I get your pizza? Yeah, go for it. And then, they're kind of just having their little, friendly banter go back and forth. And then you get somebody shooting through the window, and they shoot this guy that's leaving, and this guy, and he was just asking about the other guys, the other guy's family and stuff like that. And it's just, this was crazy. A very crazy thing. That other dude's dead, and they got this guy. They're holding this guy hostage, and they got guns to his head, and they're a bunch of guys with machine guns. And then you flip over the page, and it looks like Karma has hired some guys to come on and go to Wayne Enterprises and take this guy hostage, because he knows the identity of Batman, and he's going to do this so that he can get Batman there. He wants to lure Batman and the Bat family out of where they are. So he's holding this guy hostage. Now we're in the Batcave, and we see everybody there. We got Katana, we got Orphan, Black Lightning, Batman, and Signal there, and we see them all here, and they're kind of talking about where this tech came from. They're talking about the lady who is controlling the black market in Markovia, and she's a weapons dealer, and she's the one that sold this tech to Karma. And they're saying, this tech, it came from Markovia, but that's not where it originated from. It's actually, it could actually be alien tech. So, and they don't really know what this tech kind of does, or they know a little bit about it, but they don't know, if it's what it does, what it kind of, if it's just him wielding this, or if he's like, because he's been wearing this mask for so long, is he now dependent on this mask, and he can't, if he takes this mask off, is he gonna be like a vegetable? This is what they're talking about here. And they'd say, he uses this, it keeps him from feeling pain. It also, he can read minds. It makes him stronger, and they're getting all this information from when Amanda Waller hacked into Brainiac, right, and no justice. And this is the information that Katana is bringing over. So now we got, not only do we have Karma, but now we got this lady in our back of our minds, this Martina lady, who is the head of this black market in Markovia. We got her hanging over our heads now too. But they said, well, we'll get to her later. We need to focus on Karma. We need to focus on the task at hand right now. So now they're talking about stuff and talking about their little how they're gonna do this. Batman obviously is like, yeah, you guys are staying here. I'm gonna go do this by myself. And Signal's like, nah, you wanted me to do this. You called me in here and you're sidelining me. You're sidelining them. We need to do this as a team. You want to see me, you want to see what I can do. You want to see how I can lead them. Let me do this. Let me lead them. Now we are back with the guard, and we are, and Batman's pretty upset about it because he knows this guy by name, and he's, Fred has worked for Bruce Wayne for 12 years, and he's a father of 3. His wife's name is Susan. She has type 1 diabetes, and he works at night so that she doesn't have to be alone when she goes into the hospital for dialysis. So he knows this guy and his background, and he's like, this guy's a good man. He's there. He's a good man. He wants to keep an eye out for him and make sure that nothing happens to him. He has to save him. So this guy, there's this guy that's head of all these mercs, I want to call him, and he's like, it's been 30 minutes. You heard the mask. He said 30 minutes, and they don't show. We kill him, and we paint this guy on the walls. So this guy kicks him on the ground. He puts a gun to his head, and then here comes Black Lightning. Black Lightning zaps these guys, and here comes his team. You got Signal, Katana, and Orphan here, and they're taking these guys out. They're punching, kicking, and Katana's about to slice this guy's head off, and Batman yells, "Katana, alive!" And she says, "Okay, as you like." And she, instead of slicing this guy's head off, she butts him with the butt of her sword, knocks him out. They subdue all these guys. And Signal Signal says, "Oh, I could see his light path. He's moving up. He's upstairs." And Batman's like, "I'll find him." And he's like, "Yeah, no, you're not. We're gonna go with you." Black Lightning says, and Black Lightning says, "Batman, wait a second. Think about this. I'm stronger than you." I just wondered in this moment, does Batman really let him say that to him? He's like, yeah, no, you're not. You ain't stronger than me. I've got years and years and years of training, bro. How are you going to say that? He says, you need power. I can read, he'll read your mind. He'll know everything about you, about how fast you are, but he's not faster than lightning. He's all, if I can't beat Karma alone, then he's right about me. I have to make certain he isn't. So they get a little plan together. So Batman's like not gonna let this happen. So, finally Black Lightning says, "All right, if you got to do this, you got something to prove. You got to do it. You just have to beat him." And Signal's like, why'd you let him go? He's like, Batman's. He basically says, Batman. I don't need to hold Batman's hand. He's a man. He's not a little kid. He wants to do this on his own. He wants to prove it. Let him do it. Yeah, I'm here for you guys. I'm teaching you guys. So he goes over to Mr. Morgan, and this guard, and he helps him out. He gets him up, and he's gonna go take him out of there and get him to safety. Now Batman is upstairs, and Karma's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I knew it was you. And anyway, he says, you have so many. One would think that with all those bat people, you're skipping around, Gotham City would be a safer place. And Batman's like, yeah, the most dangerous place in Gotham City is the floor that we're standing in now. And we see the same thing that we saw last time. He's like, Karma's telling Batman, I can see every move that you're gonna make. I know what you're gonna do before you even do it. You're just gonna have to the only thing that's left is that you're gonna have to lose. And the thing that Katana said right before Batman went up, she said, fill your brain with all the pretty much fill your brain with all the ugly. So And so they fight back and forth, and Karma is, he sees every move that Batman is making before he can make it, and Batman gets smashed into a table, into a desk, and Karma's like, hey, I got this, man. This is the same thing. I'm beating you. And Batman says, why have some thoughts, Fleet, when you you can have them all. And then Batman just floods his own brain with all kinds of memories, all the good, the bad, the ugly, and Fleet just grabs his helmet, and he starts, he starts to get flooded with all of these memories. And you see a really cool page here. This was probably one of my favorite pages of the book here, because you see Fleet Delmar with his mask. He's grabbing at it. That light in the middle is glowing, and then you see like maybe 6, 7, 8 small panels coming out of there, and you see Joker beating on Robin there. You see, I can only think that there's Joe Cool shooting his parents. There's Two-Face, Catwoman, Ra's al Ghul, and you see Bane. So you see a handful of other things, which is really cool here. And at that moment, Batman's like, now, and then he comes in, and he grabs him, and he pulls off the mask, and he breaks his knees, and we get this idea that, the same thing that they were talking about, how if you take the mask off and he's going to be a vegetable. Now you see that this is what it is. The mask comes off, and it looks like it's almost fused to his face. But on the last book, didn't we see that he took the mask off very easily, and he was still sane, and he was talking to Batman very like coherent? Now when this mask comes off, he's incoherent, and it almost looks like this mask is like fusing to him. Now, okay, I can understand if they were gonna have this idea that the longer that he kept the mask on, the more and more that it fused to him, the more and more that he was, he needed this, that he was more, it's almost like he's dependent on this mask, so I can understand if they explain that a little bit more in depth to us, rather than just saying, oh, maybe this is how it's gonna be, and then they pull his mask off, and then that's what actually happened. Because now that he's got the mask off, he's not even saying words. He's very incoherent. He's like bet, blah, blah, and Batman's giving his little monologue here and things like that, and he's like, you're gonna tell me everything about Markovia, and you because that's what we both deserve. We just like the rest of them. This is while you plan your revenge and this and that. So he's giving his little speech here and stuff, and he's gonna cart this guy off to where's he gonna take him to? Is he gonna take him to the Sanctuary, or is he gonna take him to Arkham Asylum, or what? Now we're in Metropolis, and Batman is dropping off Black Lightning. Well, not Batman, it's Bruce Wayne dropping off Black Lightning. And they're talking about, he's like, thanks, I need you, good luck, I'll keep in contact with you, get your passport ready, and things like that. So he's like, so it looks like he's going to take this job as the leader of a team. And Batman says, your team is called the Outsiders. If he asks about it, there's no point in lying to him. He's like, if who asks? And then the next page here, you see Superman flying down, and he's like, oh, you want to know what he said? He's like, no, that's between you and him. Just some advice, Jeff. Whatever Bruce Wayne wants, I'm sure you can help him, but just don't become him. And he flies off. So that's what we get. And then we get a cool couple pages here. We are now in Markovia, and we see this woman, Martina, right? And there's a guy in some military uniform, and he's yelling at her about all her experiments and the black market, and she's risked the black market and all this stuff. And he's just getting on it. He's like, you don't know what you did. You're whatever. And So, so she's like, nobody told me that you were a coward. This Batman's nothing to me. He's like, he's gonna come out here and he's gonna, you're crazy, blah blah. And she says, I admit to me, you're surprised. With we're both entrepreneurs. I hope you would see eye to eye. And her eye glows, and she blasts this guy with her eye, and he's dead. And, so she's like, Markovia is not Gotham City, a fact that Batman will learn. She says, our business will continue, no adjustments. Contact Roderick. It is time for him to stop playing dead. I'll have some prey for him to kill. And it says, to be continued very, very soon. Next to Detective Comics, Deface the Face, it says. I want to know who this Roderick guy is and what's going on there, right? So that's our cliffhanger there. So I thought this was actually a pretty solid book. It excited me. Now that we got Karma off the map, but now we got this woman, Martina here. What's gonna happen there? Who's this guy? Who is this Roderick guy, and what kind of craziness does he have that she's gonna send him after Batman? So let's keep an eye out for the next books, and I hope I hope they continue with this good streak that they've got going on here. So if I was gonna give this one a rating, I think that I would give it I'm going to say 7.5, only because that one part where they didn't really explain too much that it was alien tech, that his helmet was alien tech, that the more and more that it fused to him, the more and more that he was dependent on it, and the more and more that if he took it off, that he would become like a vegetable or his brain would be mush. And there was one point where Batman said, I'm going to get you the help that you need, and we're going to get your brain fixed. So that's going to be my review for Detective 987. Stay tuned for some more good books.
We are two of a kind, violent, unsound of mind. You're the yin to my yang, can't you see? And if I were to leave, you would crumble and grieve. Face it, bats, you'd be lost without me. You'd be lost, you'd be lost. Face it, bats, you'd be lost without me.
Alright guys, are you ready for my DC pick of the week? It's going to be Batman Kings of Fear. And this one is by Scott Peterson and Kelly Jones. Michelle Madsen as the colorist and Rob Lee as the letterer. And I got to tell you guys, this one, I don't ever talk about the covers, but this one is awesome. We get a Batman with the super long ears. And this is just awesome. You guys got to check this cover out. I wonder if there's some really awesome variants. I haven't really looked at the other covers myself, but these ones are so awesome. So we open up the book with the Joker, right? And he's got his finger in a hole, and he's like, I know I can't see you, you can't tell, but I know you're in there. You get this idea that somebody's trapped in a box. And he's taunting these people. He's got hostages. He wants to bring Batman out. And what's funny is he says, I know you're gonna come out here, but you take your time. I won't touch a hair on this guy's head, because he grabs a hostage. He's like, not unless I get tired or tired of waiting or bored. And he grabs this guy, and he doesn't waste any time. He stabs this guy. He slices his neck, and he's like, oh well, I got bored. But on that, now look at, he says, I love this. Let me read this for you guys. He says, I got bored, but note the still pristine condition of Brian's hair. So Brian is this guy this hostage that he grabbed out of there. So, and then here comes Batman. Batman comes jumping out, and he's like, oh good, this is what we've been waiting for, and Batman takes out his guys, and this is such a cool page here, because I know I've said that I'm not a fan of the multiple panels. I mean, but when people can get this multiple panels page down, it looks so awesome. I loved this one. There's got to be so many different panels here, but it's so cool because you get this idea that Batman is just beating these guys, and Joker's just sitting there grinning, sadistically, and this is just awesome, right? Then we flip to the next page, and Batman's there. All these guys are down, and Batman grabs this Brian guy's neck, and he says, "You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right." Joker jumps up, and he's got a knife in his hand. He's laughing, and Batman reaches back, grabs his leg, knocks him out. The Joker hits the back of his head, and next thing we know, Batman and Joker are in the Batmobile, and this is my favorite Batmobile. This is the old school one that we saw, in the Michael Keaton Batman movie, and maybe even the animated series. This is kind of reminiscent to that. So we see Joker, and he's in the back all tied up, and he's just kind of singing a tune. Batman's there clicking away at all his stuff inside the car, all his little gadgetry. And Joker's just yapping away. All right? And he's like, you're more brooding than you have been lately. And it's so funny. And he's just talking and talking and talking. He's like, "Penny for your thoughts. Did I say penny? I meant all the gold in Qatar, or between the cushions of Bruce Wayne's couch. 6 of one baker's dozen. The other, you say the word and I can get it all, and it's all yours." And he's just going back and forth, and he's really just talking his head off and just making jokes, cracking jokes. And there's one moment where Batman says, I think he even says, "Shut up, Joker." So he says, "Joker," and then Joker says, He says, "Shut up." And then we get this. He's like, "Did I hit a nerve? Did we?" And then we see that the car is driving by. I like this because we see somebody up in their apartment or in their office, in front of a computer or TV, and they're watching the news, and this guy says this guy survived and Batman saved him, and Joker's just talking away down there, and you see them driving by in the window. Batman puts on a mask, and some smoke comes out on inside the cabin, and Joker gets knocked out. I love this because this is what we saw. Where do we see this? Is this in Batman 66 or in any Batman story that we've seen back in the day? Batman would put people in his car and he would knock them out before he went and took them to the cave or wherever or Arkham Asylum or wherever he's going to take them. And this instance, Batman takes Joker to Arkham Asylum and he takes him inside, and the doctor there, takes Joker, and what's so funny about this is that the orderlies take Joker up, and I get this feel in this book that Batman's job is never done, right? Because even though he just dropped off the Joker gets away because they get a call. Batman starts going to upstairs or wherever they are. The guy says, he says, "What's the status?" And he says, "I don't know. He just got away." And so Batman goes around and looks for him. He's searching for the Joker, right? And he turns the corner, and guess who he sees? He sees all the supervillains that we know and love. We see Croc, the Riddler, Joker's there, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Poison Ivy, Penguin, Two-Face. They're all there. Killer Croc. They're all there, right? And they're all there about to pounce on Batman. They're like, "Let's just finish this. Now this is what we call a fair fight," Joker says. Batman gets a device out of his pocket. It looks like I'm gonna call that a cosmic screwdriver. Anyway, he gets this device out of his pocket. He clicks it. All the lights go out, and he starts fighting them and beating them up, and this is how he gets his edge on them, right? Someone says, "Who turned out the lights?" "Oh, I think we got it. Oh, we're working on getting the lights back on. Oh, I can't find the lights." And then it looks like Poison Ivy lights a match, and as she lights this match, there's Batman right in her face, knocks her out. And then as you see the next panel there, he's just knocking these villains out left and right, and he's taking them out. They're all flying left and right, which is pretty cool. And he grabs Mr. Freeze's gun and he shoots it off at one of them, and he freezes Poison Ivy and all that good stuff. And this is so awesome. I loved it. This was really cool. So now he gets them all, and here comes the doctor, and she's all yelling at him, and she says, "What did you do? What did you do to them?" He says, "I stopped them." You know that all this does, you beating them into submission, is validating what they stand for, what they want, what they're saying they're doing, right? He says, "Yeah, that's unfortunate, Doctor." And then here comes another orderly running. He says, "The Scarecrow, the Jonathan Crane, he got away. So here again, and then they say he's got a hostage. So again, Batman's job is not done, especially here. He went and dropped off Joker. Joker got away, and then released all of the other villains, and then Scarecrow just dipped out and got away and took a hostage with him. Now Batman's running out of Arkham Asylum, jumping in his car, and then he finds the Scarecrow. Scarecrow douses him with his fear toxin, and he says boo. And then this is where we leave off with this awesome cliffhanger. Batman, we see in the next Batman is like creeping out, and he's subdued with this fear toxin, right? So now we're gonna see in the next issue where this picks up in the next issue. But come on, let me talk to you guys about this a little bit. The colors are awesome. The artwork is so good. I love Batman with these long ears. I love the way we get this banter between him and Joker, and how he just lets Joker talk his head off, and then he just tells him to shut up. And then we get the sense that Batman's job is never done. We kind of get this little insight in his life, like once he gets one thing done, he's called to another, and called to another. So I love that. I love the pacing of this issue. I love the dialogue. I love the story all around. I wish this was an ongoing, because even though this is a 6-issue mini, I love it though. I might even go out to the comic shop and pick up every issue that I can get my hands on, because this is so awesome. I love the artwork of Kelly Jones, and the colorist did an amazing, fantastic job. I just wanted to applaud everybody in this book. I am so excited for it. This is like a nostalgic type of book for me. I can't say anything other than that. This was really cool. I'm not going to get too much into this book, because I'll talk about it again with one of my buddies. But this is so awesome, and I love it. For a rating, I think I'm going to give this, I don't want to say a 10, guys, but it's pretty up there. I might even say 9.5. I didn't really, you know what? I'm going to say a 9, because there was one part in particular that made me drop it down, because I just didn't like the way one of the faces looked. But it was just my preference. But the artwork was awesome, and it was amazing. I like this whole book all around. So awesome. Hopefully these next 5 issues will be just as good, and the story will be just as good. So that is going to be my review of Batman Kings of Fear. Alright guys, we're going to be talking about our Marvel books here next. We have some pretty good ones, and we have some that I'm not too sure about. But let's kind of jump in here. First off, and we're going to do these in a row here. The way I read them is the way we're going to have them come out. So, first up, we're going to be talking about Mr. and Mrs. X number 2. Next, we're going to talk about Punisher number 1. They're bringing that one back, and he no longer has the War Machine armor. I wasn't really keeping up on that one as much as some of you guys are, but let's go ahead and see what this one's about. After that, we're going to talk about Venom number 5. And last but not least, and this was one of the ones that I was kind of iffy on whether or not I'm going to get into or not, but we're going to read it and we're going to talk about it anyway. West Coast Avengers number 1, and we're going to follow them, and we're going to see what they can come up with on this book. Hopefully it's something that would actually be good enough for me to want to purchase. So stay tuned for all our Marvel books here next, and keep an eye out for ones that you like. Okay, guys, we've got Mr. and Mrs. X for you, but this one just is a little weird, I want to say. We'll get to that part here towards the end. Actually, the very last page is very weird, but it's this one. It is what it is. I like the pacing. I like the artwork. The story is just a little weird to me and a little off, and to me at least, it's a little wonky. It's one of those books where if I was sitting in the comic shop and I was looking through them and I only had to pick 2 books, I don't think this would be one of the ones that I was going to pick, only because it was very weird and odd. But I do want to say that the very last page, even though it's very weird, it really does kind of intrigue me, and I think I want to continue reading this one, only because I want to know where they're going to go with this one. That's kind of how I had the feeling of when at the end of this page, at the end of this book here, the last page. So we've got Kelly Thompson as the writer, Oscar, here we go again, gonna kill somebody's name, Balzal Dua as the artist, and Frank Diarmata. I'm horrible. Sorry, guys, that I ruined your names. Please don't email me with your hate mail. Okay, for the colorist, and we got VC's Travis Lanham as the letterer. So this one, we kind of open up the book here, and where we left off, and if you guys haven't read the first one, check it out. I'm not really going to give too much of an account what happens in that one, but we leave off where Rogue is out in space, because they had a honeymoon in space, and some people showed up, and the Imperial Guard showed up, and they're after the same thing that Rogue and Gambit are after, this crystal looking thing. And in this book, it's no longer a crystal. The crystal broke, and it's now an egg, and that's what they're after now. And they've got Gambit tied up, and they are now after Rogue, because Rogue was out in space, and an invisible ship picked her up. And she is now safe in that other invisible ship, but we don't know who's on that ship. We just know that she's there. We don't know if she's dead or safe. Hopefully, we think that she's safe at this point. In the book, we know that she's safe, because they wouldn't kill her off, right? At least in the second book. So Gambit gets away with the help of somebody that they were actually after in the first book. Check it out. I'm not going to go into that one too much. So now the Imperial Guard shoot that invisible ship down. The ship goes down, crash lands into the planet underneath where they are, and now this Gambit is freed. The Imperial Guard is now out of the picture. So now Gambit is piloting the ship towards where the other ship crash landed. And guess who is in that ship with Rogue? Hey, it's Deadpool. we got Deadpool in space here, guys, and he's after the crystal, and that turns into this egg because the crystal gets broken. And they think that it's, you know, anyway. So now this crash landed. He gets all beat up and tore apart and jostled around in this crash landing. And Rogue is, you know, there's nothing wrong with her, right? She's pristine, and he even says so. And obviously we get this little banter back and forth between Rogue and Deadpool. And anytime that we see Deadpool in a book, he's always, you know, he can't shut up. That's why he's called the Merc with the mouth, right? Because he can't keep his mouth shut ever. So I'm sure that my wife would probably call me, you know, the one with the mouth too, because she says that I can never shut up either. That's a different story, different podcast entirely. So now we see that Rogue is, you know, talking to him, saying, hey, you know, man, this is my thing. I've got this. Don't interfere anymore because we got this. Don't worry about it. You don't have to. This is our thing. You know, here comes Gambit. He's going to get pissed. You know, you better hope he's not. And now she goes over to Gambit because he comes down on the ship, and she has this egg in her satchel. She walks away, and Deadpool had cut a hole in the satchel and stolen away the egg. Now we flip the page and we see that they realize that the egg is missing, and Deadpool is running away with the egg in his arm. And this thing, I gotta say, this egg, it's not like a chicken egg, guys. It's more in the way they hold it, the way that Deadpool's holding it. He's holding it like a football. It's probably about the same size as a football, maybe closer to, I don't know if anybody's seen an ostrich egg in real life. It's probably around that size, you know, so that's kind of, you know, a mental thing, so that you guys can get an idea of how big this thing is. At the end of this, you'll know why I'm giving you guys an account of how big it is. So now Gavin asks, you know, can I blow him up? Please let me blow him up, because, you know, everybody wants to blow up Deadpool, right? Because he is so annoying. Anyway, they fight and they go try to catch him and take this egg back, you know. And Gambit does blow him up a little bit, and, you know, it's Deadpool. He's got the healing factor. So now he gets blown up. Rogue's got the egg. And, you know, they kind of continue to fight Deadpool back and forth. She takes him out, punches him really hard, and messes him up a little bit. And so he in the process, he grabs he pulls the pin from a grenade that either he put on Rogue's belt or she had on her belt already. So, you know, she gets blown up, and this is Rogue too. She has, I don't know if she's got a healing factor or if she's just super strong and she can't get hurt either, right? So, and anyway, there's a blast that goes off, and there's smoke, and then you see Rogue flying out of the smoke. At that time, Gambit and Deadpool are fighting over this egg. And we hear Deadpool's mouth going off again. I'm not going to get much into that stuff, because guess what, guys? I'm not much of a Deadpool fan. Ooh, no, please, again, no hate mail. Please don't send any hate mail. Unless you guys want to, whatever. It's anyway. So, you know, now Rogue comes and jumps in, and now all three of them are there, and they are fighting over this egg. As they're fighting over this egg, a group of more villains show up. So we get in the first book, we got a group of villains, right? Or people who were after this this egg or this crystal, whatever it was. Now we get another group here, and this group is even weirder than the last. Just saying, guys. And if there's people out there, there's comic book critics out there that are so much of a critic that they have to critique this to the point to where they're like, okay, we saw this in the first book. You guys brought over a group of people that were searching out this thing, this mysterious egg or this mysterious crystal. And now you're doing it again in this second. This is a bit redundant, right? And this is, maybe it is a little bit, but is that really a big deal? Is it too much of a big deal that it takes us away from the story, or it takes us away from the fun of it all? I mean, make your own choice, make your own decision. But to me, it was just a fun little thing. And this is the TechNet group, right? And they all have some really cool powers, but they're all very weird and very crazy looking. You know what they remind me of like villains and of things of like in like back in the day. They even look like some old school like maybe like 90s villains and stuff like that in the 90s. Kind of cool that a lot of people like the books in the last week or so have been coming out with stuff that are very nostalgic to the 90s. It's kind of cool. I like that because that's when I grew up on the comic books, and that's what I love. So pretty awesome. But these characters are kind of weird, and I don't know if I like them. There's one that even looked like a weird baby. It was so weird, but I don't know if I can get into that. So that you get like 2 or 3 pages, maybe 4 pages of them fighting and talking, going back and forth, and subduing each other. So obviously the heroes of the book win that fight, right? You know, Deadpool has to team up with Rogue and Gambit, right? And I don't know if you guys want to guess which of those ragtag characters that Deadpool goes after. You've guessed it. He went after the baby looking one, and he kicks it and crazy. I don't know if you guys like seeing babies kicked, but if you do, you must be a Deadpool fan, right? So here we go. We go with this fight, and there's one that even has that can like engulf you and wax and molds it, and it's really some really weird its powers. But there was one point where Rogue says, even though they really look weird, but the TechNet, they're actually pretty powerful, so don't let them get one over on you. So they end up winning, right? Rogue and Gambit and Deadpool, they take him out, they get him out of the equation, and it almost looks like they even get them, they even get them and put them in a portal, and just like the last time. First book, to get rid of these people, they put them in a portal and they were gone. This one, put them in a portal, they're gone. So you guys want to say this is a bit redundant, you can chime in now. So now Rogue, Gambit, and Deadpool are all back on the ship, and Rogue's trying to convince Deadpool, sorry, not Gambit, Deadpool, to just back off and back off from here. Stop what you're doing. Don't try to take this from us anymore, because we got this. We're the X-Men. We got it, dude. Just chill out. And he says, if you got the money to that they were gonna pay me for this thing, I'll step away clean and easy. And they kind of get, and there's some noise going on, and he notices that the egg is cracked, and he says, your guys' egg's cracked, right? You know that, right? He says, also, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. So this egg is cracked. There's some kind of mist coming out, misty type stuff, and there's some smoke coming out of it, and they all have this crazy look on their face. And here's the very last page. This is what I was talking about. That was very weird, guys. And I had to kind of go back and flip through some pages and read it over again, because when I saw this, I was very confused. Again, remember how I told you guys about the size of this egg? It was about the size of a football or the size of an ostrich egg. Now, what is inside this thing? It is a person who looks very similar to Rogue. Like it's Rogue, right? But the way it's drawn here, it almost looks like it's regular size. You can't really tell, but that egg was the size of an ostrich egg. It was the size of, roughly the size of an extra large Polar Pop from Circle K. And I don't know, maybe I should drop some names so I can get some royalties. Yeah, right. But anyway, free Polar Pops for me, right? So anyway, that's the size of it. That's roughly the size of this egg, of this thing. So please let me know. I want to know. That's probably why I'm so intrigued in this book. This is probably the only reason why I'll read number 3, is because I want to know if this clone of Rogue is the same size as Rogue or if she's smaller, and what's the rules? Is she gonna grow? Is she gonna stay the size? What is it, and why, and who created her? Where she came from? Why was she in an egg? Why was she in a crystal? What's up here? What's going on here? That's what I want to know. Very odd, very weird. And there's even a little piece here that tells that at the bottom there's some text there, and it says next, no more clones and golems. No way. Weirder than that. Okay, so it says no way it's weirder than that. So very weird. That's a very odd cliffhanger, but I think it got me, on the edge of my seat, and I was like, maybe I will read this next one just to see where that came from and what this is about. So if I was gonna give this a rating, I'd probably give it. I'm gonna give it a 6. Only because I felt like everything was a little bit redundant. They did the same kind of thing in the first issue. The pacing was great. Artwork was awesome, like I said, and it did give me that nostalgic feel. But at the same time, they kind of used the same kind of formula. At least that's the way it felt like to me. And I'm not much of a Deadpool fan. Hopefully you guys are. Maybe your ratings will go up. But and this one was a very odd one at the end, this very last page where we saw this secondary Rogue. I want to know where she comes from, where she is, and what's up with this. So that would be my review for that one. That would be my rating for that one. So next one we're going to be talking about here is we're going to be talking about Punisher #1. And I haven't been following that one very much, but I heard that he was using the War Machine armor. Now he is no longer using that armor. I don't know exactly why or how. Haven't been really following these books. Sorry for that, but this is a fresh start. So we'll check this one out, and we'll see what this one is in store. What's in store for us in this book? I do love the Punisher character, and I am looking forward to seeing what we're going to get in this book. So next one we're going to have up for you is Punisher #1. Stay tuned. Alright guys, we're going to be talking about Punisher #1. So this one follows Frank Castle, but he no longer has the War Machine armor. I guess I wasn't really following this one too much, but I guess I hear that he had the War Machine armor because we were coming off of Secret Empire, and we had the evil Steve Rogers, and because of that we had the evil Steve Rogers. He found this, got a hold of the War Machine armor so that he could take him out and do his justice or his vengeance or whatever you want to call it. So that's where we are now. And now he doesn't have the War Machine armor, but he's got the taste for big game. So this is what he's doing. We see him going after some big guys here. Well, I don't know if it's very much big guys here in this issue, but hopefully that gives us a little insight of what we're going to see here with this story, and with this kind of new this what do they call it? They call it a fresh start, right? So we'll see what happens here in this fresh start issue. So as always, we've got the artists and the writers and all that good stuff. We got Matt Rosenberg here. We got and you know what, guys, bear with me because these names are pretty hard. We got Sizemon Kodransky as the artist there, and we got Antonia Fabela as the colorist, and VC's Corey Pettit as the letterer. So this one's one of my, I don't know if it's going to be my pick of the week on the Marvel side, but this was up there. This is probably my close second, if anything. I did like this one a whole lot. So let's get right into it. So we open up the book here, and we see, we see some guys here. There's a guy, and it looks like he's in some kind of interrogation room or something. But we see that There's this guy. He's an ambassador. He's trying to sway this guy, and he's like, I'm not the one you're supposed to be talking to. And here he comes, and guess who it is? It is none other than Baron Zemo. Right, Baron Zemo. That's this one. We see him throughout the entire story. This whole first issue was mostly about that, and we see this is where I was talking about. It might be dragged on a little bit too long. So anyway, Baron Zemo, and we meet up with the Mandarin later on, and they are trying to sway different people from the UN who are representatives of the UN, and they are trying to sway their vote so that Begalia can be acknowledged in the UN. I'm not quite sure why they would do that, but hopefully we can see what's going on here. But we see that the Hydra, or these guys are in Hydra outfits, are taking some cargo off of this Roxxon dock. And you know what's funny there? There's one guy there. He looks a whole lot like Brian Michael Bendis. I'm just saying. But anyway, so they're taking this stuff off of these trucks and some kind of cargo. We don't know exactly what's on this cargo, but out of nowhere something happens. People start getting shot up. You don't see who it is till later on. This person who's shooting them up comes after them in trucks and diesels, and there's all kinds of crazy trucks and things getting blown up, and this artwork is awesome in this moment. I loved it a whole lot. So we see a Roxxon truck chasing after them, and we know who it is, right? It's our good friend Punisher there, and he's chasing after them and blowing things up. Now we are outside Begalia City in Begalia, and we see Baron Zemo there, and Mr. Agar shows up, and Mr. Agar's being his arrogant self, right? And then now we flip back, and we see that they just landed there, and they're getting off of an airplane, off of a jet. And now we flip to the next page here, and the fighting's still going on, and these guys are getting shot up, and everything's getting blown to bits, and all this good stuff, right? You see, there's a guy here with a motorcycle, and the Punisher. You see the Punisher silhouette there. Next thing you see is Punisher takes the guy's bike, and he's got his helmet on, and he's riding on the motorcycle, chasing after Brian Michael Bendis over here. So they are, running. They're dipping out. They're trying to run from him, and that's what we see. Now we are back in Begalia with Baron Zemo, Mr. Agar, and here we finally meet the Mandarin, and the Mandarin's got some of those delegates from the UN, and one of them's dead, and the other one is hovering over some sharks there, and it looks like he's gonna kill him. And he say, he didn't want to vote for us, so. That's this was one of those things, like, if you're trying to sway the vote, why would you kill them? Who's gonna take their place and vote for you now? It was a little off in that moment, and I just didn't get that in that moment there. So now we see, they're still there. So here's a tank coming in that fight. Now there's a tank coming and tearing stuff up, shooting back and forth. I don't know how Frank Castle got a tank there, but then he I don't know if he just burst through the wall and he runs out of gas, or he just jumps right out of the top of this tank and starts pulling out guns left and right and shooting these guys. And this entire time, guys, we haven't heard any words, any dialogue from the Punisher yet. I don't know. Some people hated this because all it was him just blowing stuff up. I loved it. I loved it because of that. It made me feel. I would read a book that just had no dialogue and nothing but this artwork telling the story for itself. And if it had more and more things getting blown up, hey, give me that book. But I'm a sucker for shoot 'em up movies, like super cheesy shoot 'em up movies. And stuff like that. So I'm probably a little biased when it comes to something like that. So we see this really cool page here of Frank Castle. He's shooting. We see the bullet casings kind of close up, and I thought this was a really great page. The colors are awesome. And then you see him pick up this crazy gun that just, you point it at somebody and there's some blue light that comes from it. But it almost incinerates these people because they are almost like obliterated and like almost, it's just so crazy the way it just dissipates these people. It's so crazy. And so I thought that was kind of cool. And we get this when you deal with SHIELD and Hydra and things of that nature. We see this technology, this gun, these new technology guns, and that's what I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna call them technology guns. But sorry, for lack of better words or for lack of intelligence over here on my side. But yeah, so we see this moment where these like 9 panels where the Punisher's just standing there and he's got guns at his feet and people are just keep coming at him and just pulls guns out until he empties out the clips, drops the guns, picks up another one, and more people are coming and empties them again. He does that a few different times. So that's what we see here. I liked that. I like that page. That was pretty cool. We still haven't had any dialogue from him either. Now he picks up this gun and he like changes the settings on it, because before it was some blue light when he shot it. Now there's a red light and it's like almost melting people. Before it was like obliterating them, almost making them like disappear, like parts of their body. Now this one is kind of like melting them. This is a gruesome gun. This is some crazy technology. So now he finds a briefcase and he grabs it. There's some stuff in there. He opens it up and some kind of green light is shining on him. Closes it up and takes it and starts shooting his way out. And he's gone. He looks at his clock. He must be late for an appointment. Maybe his kids. Maybe he's got to take his kids to soccer practice or something. But anyway, he there's a helicopter that is about to leave, and just like any cheesy movie or any cheesy action sequence, we see this guy jump up to reach for the helicopter, and that's just what he does. I think he misses it a little bit, and he gets on there just by his fingertips. He leaves a crazy a crazy, like, I don't know what you want to call this. Would you want to call it like a bomb or like a grenade or something? Because it's some kind of disc, and it's emanating a blue light, and it just obliterates these people. And you see birds flying, and they just turn into skeletons, and they just fall. And the radius of this thing is pretty wild, pretty huge. It's almost the top of a building. I thought that was kind of cool. Now we're back with Baron Zemo and Mandarin and Agar, right? And I wanted to say this whole entire time, I was reading this and I got everybody was kind of stepping all over Baron Zemo, and I don't know about you, but I like my Baron Zemo. I like him to have a backbone. I like him to have I don't know if he's playing the long game here and he's just playing this kind of act here, because Agar pretty much calls him imbecile in one of these panels here, and Mandarin is treating him like trash too, and so I would almost want him to have some kind of backbone and stand up for himself, dude. At least tell these guys what's up, man. So. Anyway, while Mandarin and Zemo are arguing about how Mandarin is killing these guys and they need their votes, Agar's on the phone and he finds out that somebody had blown the place to bits and there's nothing left. And he's like, yeah, I got nothing for you guys. There's nothing left. And this is where he calls Zemo an imbecile. So now we're in New York City. And we see Tony Stark, right? So now they are here at the United Nations, and I guess this is where they're going to, sway the vote and ask them to, I guess, recognize Bugalio as a UN, so as a part of the UN. But this is kind of a cool part here. We see that, Mandarin is now up on the stand, and you see that he is in the sights of, Punisher's got a gun, and he's in his sights, and he shoots him. And, I haven't really stayed up to date with the Punisher and the Mandarin and things of that nature and these kind of villains, rogues or whatever. But so I don't really know what kind of powers the Mandarin has. But here he looks like, as he gets shot, he has this kind of force field to stop this bullet, but this bullet is piercing through his little force field there. And he can't stop the bullet, and Tony Stark tries to jump in there, try to get him away from there, get him out of the way. At least that's what it looks like, or this could be his little buddy there. But nevertheless, he gets shot and he gets killed because this is a bullet that can pierce through his armor, his little shield, and he gets killed right in front of everybody in the UN. So and in front of Tony Stark. So now the next page, we see that the Punisher is, I guess you would say, public enemy number 1, because you see news reports and it says breaking news. The man we call the Punisher is wanted for killing someone in the UN as they were up on the stand, and you see Baron Zemo there's watching this news report, and he's basically he's like, oh right, so he's like, so this is what it's gonna be, he says, so be it, Castle, now we go to war. And this is the last page. So the cliffhanger is that they're gonna go to war, and they're gonna fight against the Punisher. And this last page here says, on the next punishment World War Frank Part 2. So that's where we get the World War, and the artwork was really awesome. I did like this a whole lot. You didn't really see, I don't even think we even saw any dialogue from Frank Castle, actually. I'm not quite sure. Well, I'll have to look through it again, but there wasn't really too much dialogue. It was mostly Zemo and the other guys, and there was a lot of politics type stuff. A lot of people didn't like it because of that, but I liked it because of all the action sequences and things of that nature. So if I was going to give this one a rating, I think I would give it a good solid 7. This was a really good one to me. I don't think I can go any higher or lower because I like the artwork, and I do want to see what's going to happen here in this next issue. So I liked it a whole lot. So stay tuned for our next book.
Let us take you, expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, past the line. The world is mine, it can be yours for time. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine. We are Venom, here to expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, past the line.
Okay, guys, we're going to be talking about Venom number 5. Again, this is another book that I was interested in reading when it came out. But I think I read the first one, but I don't think I picked up the second or third one. I kind of skimmed through the second one possibly, but I kind of, been reviewing other books and reading other books, and I didn't really keep up with this one, but I almost wish that I did so that I can know what's going on in this one completely and fully. So hopefully I can give at least a good rating on actually what I read. This one, I liked it quite a bit. It was pretty interesting. They do kind of give you guys like a little recount of what happened in the last issue and the story up until this point. It was pretty cool. So I guess there's a god of the symbiotes, and I guess he tried to connect with Eddie Brock and Venom, and because of that, Venom has found that he has some new kind of powers. And he, in this issue, he actually absorbs another symbiote into him. So there's, and this was kind of, I kind of got confused a little bit there, because there was parts of the dialogue where Venom was saying we, and then he started to say I. And my whole thing was, if Venom, I always wondered why Venom would use the word we when I thought he was referencing to himself and Eddie Brock, and he would use them as the third person kind of thing. But now it makes sense, because he's absorbed many different symbiotes. I'm sure. I don't know if we saw any of that in any of the other issues, but it makes sense because of how it works out in this issue. So, and I liked it a little bit, and we get Venom with some wings here, and he just found that out as well himself. So that's kind of cool. I did like seeing Venom with wings, and at the end of this, we see Venom kind of change a little bit as well, and he's got different and new powers, which is kind of cool, and I'm pretty interested in seeing where this one goes. I liked this one pretty good, actually. So we've got Donny Cates as the writer, and we've got Ryan Stegman as the penciler, J.P. Meyer as the inker, and Frank Martin as the colorist, and VC's Clayton Cowles as the letterer. So like I said, we pick up where we left off with the when the host was trying to connect with Eddie Brock and Venom. We see Spider-Man Miles Morales here, and they're kind of falling, and he kind of tries to wake up Eddie Brock and Venom because they are knocked out. And Spider-Man saying, it was either the mouth of this crazy dude or the belly, or I don't know what he's referencing to. He said, or falling to our death kind of a thing. And Eddie Brock wakes up and he says, come on, do some Spider-Man stuff. You get it, do a Spider-Man parachute. That's a web parachute. He said, that's something Spider-Man can do. He's like, yeah, I don't do that. So he doesn't do that, and you see that Venom is talking to him, and he's like, yo, Eddie, just grab Spider-Man and go limp. And he's like, no, what the heck? I'm not going to do that. He finally does. He finally grabs Spider-Man, and he goes limp, and Venom takes over, and Venom, you see kind of like Venom is kind of, spreading out his wings. And he's like, yo, we're flying. How did you know that we're flying? And this page is so cool. You've got Venom there, and he's flying, and the moon is behind him, and it's bright. You see the stars, and you see Miles Morales, Spider-Man there, and Venom grabs him up with one arm, and Venom has these big, wide spread wings, and they're flying at it, and they're trying. He's taking them to safety here, drops them off on a roof, and Venom flies off, and that's basically the last time we see Spider-Man here. Now Venom goes to an alley, and this was kind of a cool part here. I don't know if I want to say it was creepy or if it was cool, but you kind of see that the Venom symbiote kind of almost kind of peel off of Eddie Brock, but it's still like a little bit of connected to him, but now they're kind of like looking at each other, and it almost looks, there's one point where it looks like they're like Siamese twins almost, and they're kind of facing each other, and they're talking to one another in that manner. It's kind of cool and creepy at the same time. I think even Eddie Brock says, yo, this is kind of creeping me out. But they talk about the powers that was left with him after the host kind of took over their body. And this is the dialogue that kind of got me, because they kind of go back and forth between saying I and we and all this kind of stuff. Now we follow Venom over to where a character named Rex, and they kind of burst into this guy's place, and he's like, yo, hey, Eddie Brock, what's up, man? And Eddie kind of talks about how, the voices, the nightmares and things like that. And it kind of gives us a little recount of what had happened, how Venom was kind of reacting to the host and things of that. nature and how he was going to his primal state, kind of a thing. And they kind of look really cool here. I liked it. I really like Venom's face there. It's really cool. And it really reminds me of kind of like McFarlane's Venom. Anyway, so Venom was like, it was you. You did this kind of stuff, and he bursts. He kind of not bursts, but he strikes this guy's face. His arm, pierces him straight through his head, and there's a big hole left there. And you think that this guy's completely dead, right? No, this guy starts growing his head back, and they find out that he is a symbiote too, and he took over his host's body and his identity, and I guess because he was, and they referred to the Grendel and things of that nature, and he's like, yeah, I didn't want to be a part of this. I didn't want to be a part of the Grendel and this and that, and I just wanted to stay away from it. And they have a conversation like that, right? So anyway, I want to move along through this a little bit because there's some really cool parts here, and there's some areas where you're like, okay, there's 2 or 3 pages of them explaining things, and you kind of get some stuff that you kind of already saw, I believe. But anyway, they kind of, they offer an invitation. They're like, join us, come on, so they touch hands, and this guy kind of, is absorbed by Venom into Venom. And now he is, he says he's I'm a part of you now. And he starts to talk to Eddie Brock, and he's like, oh, Rex, is that you? And he's like, yeah, I'm in here too, but, your friend's here, but, they're just kind of letting me drive. And they're talking about going and he looks really crazy here. Like, it's so cool looking that this page, his eyes are all even more wicked than usual. This is a really cool page. I liked it a whole lot because of the visuals, and it was awesome. So now this guy's talking about, the one thing about, and I guess this guy's an ex-SHIELD agent, and the persona that he took on. He said, the thing about being in SHIELD all those years is you acquire some firepower and everything. But the thing is, we're not Thor, but we can bring the thunder. And you just see that they open up a door to this big room, and there's ammo and guns and weapons all over the place. So they are gonna take the war to, I guess, the host and the Grendel or whatever that is. I'm really hoping that I did this book diligence and explaining some of this stuff to you guys, because this is almost like the very first issue of me actually opening this and reading it. I think I read the first one, but it didn't really get into to delve deep into what it was actually happening here. I think I should have read the number 4 and into number 5, maybe even the whole run actually. But this one's actually really good. I liked it a whole lot. The visuals were awesome. The artwork is great. I loved it a whole lot. I love the whole look of Venom. So I'm excited to see this one. I'm actually probably going to go and throw this on my pile and probably read the first 4 issues and kind of catch myself up so I know exactly what I'm talking about here. And I liked it a whole lot. So I'm going to give this one another 7 here. Because it was really great. I could even go an 8. I think I will. I think I'm gonna jump it up to an 8 because I like the whole story. I liked seeing him absorb that Rex guy, and I want to see what's going on. And the artwork was awesome. Story was pretty cool, and I'm excited to see where this one's gonna take us. So that's gonna be my review for Venom number 5. We're gonna be moving on to I really hope that I'm gonna like this one, guys. So we're gonna be moving on to West Coast Avengers number 1. So stay tuned.
West Coast Avengers assemble!
California knows how to party. California
Okay, guys, we're going to be talking about West Coast Avengers. This one's a little wacky, and you know what? This is probably not my favorite one, but you know, it's here. It is. You know what I mean? So we follow, Hawkeye, and not that Hawkeye, not Clint. We follow Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and she's out in the West Coast, and this one opens up. She is fighting some land sharks. Yeah, I said it, land sharks. So weird. And they're out in Santa Monica, and so she gets a hold of Clint Barton, and she has her friend there, America Chavez, who opens up a portal and grabs Clint, brings him over to help with the land sharks. They do that, and they get back to their headquarters because she's got a private investigation. She fell into that job. She's a private investigator out in California. So if that's not already wacky, guys, it gets wackier. So Clint says, you need a team. You need to find some superheroes. So she puts out a flyer, and so she gets a bunch of crazy, wacky people here, and they answered the ad. There's a guy, Toast Man. There's a woman named Diva, and these are just people that want to be a part of the team that don't have any powers. There's a guy, Surf Doctor. And the Broken Watch, the Dark Paladin, her friends even, want to be a part of this, but they don't have any powers. You got the guy named the Scorp, Dr. Mole, the Silver Snowboarder, and her powers only work when it's snowing, and she's out in California. And then you've got the Dutch Oven, and he's got a blanket there. Looks like he's going to give everybody the Dutch Oven. So... And then you've got Wolverine, and he's got, and this is so crazy and wacky, he's got steak knives put together with rubber bands on his fingers and his hands. So this is just so crazy. And then her friend Gwenpool pops up, and she's like, yeah, I need you on the team. And she's like, oh, I was just here to see if you wanted to do something before I left town. So she's like, all right, it's cool. Let's do this. So she joins the team, and they're talking here amongst themselves. And then you've got Quentin Quire that comes in, and he AKA Kid Omega. So he comes in, and he wants to be a part of the team now, right? So now he's a part of the team, but he also brings a camera crew, which is that's how they're going to fund this whole thing, because they're running out of money. They're running out of ways to, they want to pay people to be a part of the team, and that's how they're going to be funded. So it's going to be kind of like a Big Brother or like the Real World kind of a thing, and where they sit in front of the camera and they answer questions and this and that. And you kind of see that when you first open up the book. They kind of do that, and they're talking to this camera crew, and that's what's going on here. It's a little weird to me, and I don't know if I like this book as much as some people did. So now America says, there's something going on back at Santa Monica Pier, because they put the land sharks back into the sea, and Clinton was like, they're going to be back. You know that, right? I'm pretty sure that land sharks aren't even a thing. So that means that they were made, and whoever made them, they're gonna send something back. They're gonna send them back, and they're gonna come back after us. This is the thing. And then there's an ongoing joke in here that Clint Barton is not a full-time member, so you get the idea that he's not gonna be in this book as a long run. So they're just kind of setting up the team. So now they go off back to Santa Monica Pier. And the team is kind of fighting back and forth. You got Gwenpool, and she's shooting guns at Quentin Quire, and they're just kind of going back and forth and fighting kind of thing like this. So now they are back at Santa Monica Pier, because you got Tigra there, and she's like 200. This says 200 feet, but I mean, come on. 200 foot tall. She's probably super huge. She looks way bigger than 200 feet. You know what I mean? So, so now they kind of fight her, and they keep going at her, and they're like, let's use non-lethal force because she's a part of the old West Coast Avengers, and she's a superhero, so we gotta help her out. And so they kind of use their non-lethal ways to get her to stop, so that she doesn't go into the city or come onto the beach and start hurting people. So none of that works, and finally they say, Quentin's like, I can just shut her down. This is what I do, man. I can, because he's got telepathy powers, and he can, he's a telepath, so he can shut her down. So they're like, all right, finally, after getting beat up and getting tossed around left and right, they finally tell him, okay, go ahead and shut her down. So they try to do that. And he gets tossed around a couple different times, right? And none of it really works. They kind of fight. They get tossed around. She throws boats and all this good stuff. And you can't. There's no beating her at this point. Not even shutting her down is gonna happen, or help at least. At least we haven't seen it yet. And then somebody mysterious comes in, and they were talking about MODOK earlier because he was part of the anyway. So now somebody comes in here, and they call him BRODOK, and he says here that, and this is kind of funny because he comes in and he grabs Kate Bishop, and he grabs her and he kisses her. Her boyfriend's there. It's just Fuse, some guy. He's just a new guy. He's a noob. He's new to the superhero thing. And BRODOK says, I'm BRODOK. He says, I am biorobotic organism designed overwhelmingly for kissing. So that's what BRODOK means. And he's just like, and his head's slightly, just a little bit bigger than it should be. So this is, I don't know, this book is pretty wacky, and they got all this funny stuff going on. I don't know if this book is for me, but that's where we left off here. And so I don't know, you guys, if you guys are into this, if you guys thought this was, a good fun book, pick it up and read it, and check it out for yourselves. But I definitely did not. I think this one would be at the bottom of the pile of all these books. That's probably why it's the last one that I reviewed, because I was definitely not looking forward to this. I definitely liked Punisher over this one. I liked Venom over this one. This one's my least favorite of the Marvel books this week. So if I were going to give this one anything, I'd probably give it, I'm going to give it a kind of a low one, guys. I did like the artwork here. And let me go back and give you guys the art team and the creator team who did this, because I didn't jump into this one and give you guys that. So we start off with the writer is Kelly Thompson. Artwork is Stefano Caselli. We've got Triona Farrell as the colorist, and VC's Joe Carmagna as the letterer. So they all did a great job. That's one thing that I will say. They all did a really good job on this book, but it's not for me. It's not my kind of thing. So if I was going to give this anything, I'm going to give this, I don't want to say a 4 because that's almost too negative. I think I'll go 5.5. Just because, just because of the story and everything around it was not for me. But I mean, if I was going to be super positive about this and think about, okay, it was kind of funny, all these kind of callbacks and these play on these superheroes that we have here, and the people, we got Wolverine. So I mean, if I was gonna give it a rating for what it is, I'd probably jump it up to a 6 or 7. but because I didn't really like it too much, I think I'll give it a 5.5. So yeah, it is what it is. It's a funny book. It's fun. It's cool. But if this is what you guys like that kind of jokey kind of comic book, rather than the brooding comic book, pick this one up and check it out. The West Coast Avengers would probably be for you. So check it out. So this is gonna be my review for the West Coast Avengers #1. I don't know if I should read the second one, guys. Maybe I will, but I really hope something better comes of this one. I hope it'll be more exciting than this one is, and more intriguing, and get me on board at least. So that's gonna be my review for West Coast Avengers. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this week. Thank you guys for checking out the show and listening and sticking around for all of our really cool books. So next week we have, it's Annuals Week, and the books are I mean, if they were silly books this week, we were definitely having some silly books next week. There was one where Daffy Duck and Joker and and Porky Pig and Lex Luthor. I'm not gonna review any of those ones. I might do a review on the Jinx World book, because that was one of the only ones that I thought would be really cool to review. But I'm going to do something really cool and really fun next week. I might have some friends on to do it with me. I'm going to do a character spotlight. We're going to do something really fun. We're going to do our favorite characters and our least favorite characters, and we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned for that next week, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that. That sounds like it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and we're just going to have a good time talking about some of our favorite characters and our least favorite characters. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys. Have a good night. Bye.